Oh, sweet. We're live and it's Black Friday and no one's dead yet, so that's a positive. Unfortunately, Kevin couldn't make it because he's fighting the good fight at Black Friday, and well, Marcus is still just off being black. Anyways, shout out to our official spam is still as bad as I remember it. Oh, fuck. Ugh. Don't don't drink Zima. Just don't drink Zima. It's the worst thing you could ever drink. So, anyways, yes, we're back live chat, and I know the number one question everyone is going to ask: where are the product reviews? Well, they're coming. I just got eye surgery and had a concussion that needed to be taken care of. So, head injuries fucking suck. If you have a head injury, I feel bad for you. Don't do it. Can everyone see us in this? Like, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Someone, please let me know. I need to know that you guys can hear me right now. All right, cool. Thanks. Awesome. Dick Measurer. He's good. Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, so before I dive into questions from you guys, I've got to answer a few questions from the almighty people of Patreon. That's right, the good almighty people of Patreon. So for the first person, they asked me if I've seen the new Travis Rice movie. No, because I don't give a fuck about that shit. It's, yeah. Travis Rice movies, kind of boring. Heard from a lot of people they're boring, so I don't watch those. Alright. Damn, connection is getting laggy. That fucking sucks. Alright, Stephen Wagner's there. Hopefully his deaf friends will be able to read the subtitles and they won't be in Korean this time. That was really weird when they were Korean. I don't know why they were Korean, but they were. The next question comes from Dweezy. One defunct snowboard brand you would like to have back? Well, everyone's probably expecting me to say Forum. I really don't care that Forum's dead. I honestly want to see Look make a comeback. That's right, Look Snowboards, kind of like Look Ski Bindings. They had really unique shapes. I would like to see them make a comeback. Someone buy that brand and bring them back. That's where I'm at on things. God damn, this connection is being wonky as fuck. Let me know if it gets too bad for you guys and I'll figure something out. So, let's see, what else? What other questions have I been asked? Ooh, Will S. Bent metal or Burton cartels? Ooh, it missed the answer in the leg? Hey. Well, it says poor connection, but I think that's just in part to every fucking idiot and their brother being in the mountains right now. We're experiencing a storm too, so yeah. I'm sorry if the connection remains there. Well, no, it's still being poor. I don't know how to fix this. I can't fix this. It's like being a ginger. You just can't fix it. So, sorry for the poor connection. Alright, well, as long as it seems fine. Will S. is asking me, Bent Metals or Burton Cartels? Sure. Both. Get whatever you want. But, let's see what else we got going on here. Ooh, this is actually a really tricky question. What would be your top picks for an all-mountain board, no park really though, for someone 190 pounds, size 11 boot, and 6 plus? So far, the short list is Mercury, Gold Member, Mueller, and Six Stick, and whatever else you think. Advanced Rider, want a playful board that can be aggressive when I need it to be. Green is really important. Thanks. Oh, and what size? Well, if green is really important to you, then no snowboard. You should just quit, because snowboarding is just horrible for the environment. Building snowboards is even worse. Now, with that said, there's a few that aren't that bad. I would not recommend the Gold Member or the Mueller for an all-mountain board. Those are more for hauling ass in deep-ass powder and pretending that you're either Travis Rice or Nicholas Mueller. Six Stick is okay, but it's still more powder-driven. The Mercury is probably the most well-balanced all-mountain board on that list. that you gave me. I would add either the niche story or the niche aether to that as well. Those are boards that have they come from a brand that is super environmentally friendly, and then there's the fact that the factory they're made in, the mothership by Capita, is also super environmentally friendly. So you've got like a double duty on there, and I believe it's either the story or the aether will be the first board that has was it's reclamation or whatever it is from niche, and basically that board can be almost 100% recycled. So if that's what you're looking for, I mean, there you go. Otherwise, just don't snowboard if you want to be environmentally friendly. All right. Does anyone have a question out there? Anyone at all? All right. Let's see what else we got going on here. I know someone else gave me a question that I was supposed to answer. Zima tastes like rat piss. Ooh. Snowbank is asking, how would the Gnu Spam measure up to those boards that I mentioned? Well, it's kind of on the same level as the Mercury. It's really more on the same level as this board back here. This is the Dinosaurs Will Die Brewster. So cat's out of the bag. I actually bought this board because I loved the way it rode. I had to choose between that or the Spam. So that the way to look at the Spam is it really is a true all-mountain freestyle board. You can set it back. It's very unique in the way that it's shaped, just like the Brewster is there too. And the Brewster has that powder pack on it as well. So you can set it back and make it solid for pow, but it's still got camber to it, so it's got snap. The difference between the Brewster and the Gnu is that it does have the Magna traction, American built versus Austrian built. But I think the way to look at the Gnu is, especially the Spam, is because you can really only buy the one size, the 57, unless you're a really tiny guy. Then you could ride the women's one, which is a 151. The way to look at it would be, I want one board and one board to do it all, and I want a unique shape to it. That's the way to look at it versus some of these other boards that I think are all mountain boards. They have more of that popsicle stick shape to them. Oh, yes. Forgot about this question because someone wanted to ask me boot advice. This is for Vanessa Tracy. She wants new boots, and she wants something that will get more than a season or two from it. And what are some comparable boots to the Rome's guide boot? I don't fucking know. I'm a guy. I can't stick my foot in that goddamn thing. The best boot is the boot that fits your foot and fits your needs. Now, I ride a K2 Thraxis, which is like almost a $500 boot. I got 2 pairs for this year because I know I'm going to blow through them at 80 days. I'm going to need another pair. That's just how it is. So the best boot is the boot that fits your needs. I can't recommend a boot. I can't review a boot because there's so much shit that goes on with your foot, let alone I'm a dude and you're a chick, that you need to get the boot that fits your needs. Now, with that said, if you know you're going to be in your boots a lot, get a stiffer boot. I ride the stiffest boot that K2 makes next to their, I think it's called the Compact or no, the Compass or something or whatever it is. It's their backcountry boot because I know that I'm going to need a stiffer boot, and a stiffer boot will last through the whole season. Basically, if you're blowing through boots, you got to understand, one, that the lifespan of a boot is about 50 days max, give or take 50 to 80 days. They try to tell you it's 100. It's not. There's no boot that will last up to 100 days of abuse to it. And 2, if you're getting a softer boot, it's just going to get mushy from that day forward. A boot will never be as stiff as the day you try it on, and it's only going to break in. Boot reviews are, by and large, fucking pointless because so many people have goddamn hobbit feet or fucking other shit going on in there, which is why I'm going to be doing a whole series on boot fitting and how to do custom boot fitting yourself when you don't have a boot fitter around you. This series will probably come out in January. I'm shooting it right now, on top of still finishing shooting the product review videos. And when that's all done, hopefully that will be able to help everyone out there on YouTube and in the internet figure out how to make their boots fucking fit. So, yes. Let's see. Ooh. Marco Pinsker, can you talk about the IPP boards and how they ride, especially the Hana Li? Yeah, I can talk about that. I got 2 Hana Lis sitting right behind me, Marco. Basically, these boards are your quintessential cambered all-mountain boards. There are different flexes. The Hana Li is by far the most versatile board in the IPP line. It's the board that you're going to be able to take from the peak to the park. Now, as I said, I've got 2, so I've got the Bloodlines one from there, and I've got the new Sin Eater over there. Basically, the way to look at it is the Odessa is for the big, hard charging guy, the one that's going to be out there really pushing it, but needs something a little bit wider. And that's going to be, for the bigger footed guys, stiffer. It's about the same flex as the Hana Li. The Hana Li is great for up to about a 10 and a half foot. You could even probably push an 11 on the bigger size, the 158. But I have a size 10. I ride the 54 for my all-mountain board for everyday use. The side cut on this board is designed to engage turns and rip, and you're able to load up the camber and aggressively pop with it. It does have a lot of traditional camber. There is a lot of response. And then there's the Haro, which is their softer board. This is the more jib-oriented board, the more the lazy man's one. It doesn't have as aggressive of a camber profile to it, and as such, it's a more playful board. That's the way to look at the IPP line across everything that they have. Ooh. All right, a lot of people want to know my thoughts on the Capita Kazoo. It's a snowboard. I haven't ridden it yet, and when I do ride it, I will fucking probably do a full review on it. So the Kazoo is like one of the last boards from Capita I have to grab to get a full review on. When I do, should be solid, should get what you need with that. Other than that, I think it's basically like a slightly beefed up DOA. I think it's mixed with it's like a Navigator and a DOA in one. So I've ridden both those boards. Navigator kills it in POW. DOA is whatever. I just don't really care for that board. I think it's a little too beefy for most people. I didn't have a fun time riding it, so whatever. All right. Oh, another IPP question. Marco wants to know, why do you like the Hana Li more than the DOA? Have you seen the shape on this thing? Fucking shape. Love the shape on this thing. It's just a better board. The flex pattern, it's got like 2 really solid flex points in the nose that are a lot different than the DOA. The DOA is just stiffer throughout. It doesn't have that sweet spot in the nose or the tail like the IPP Hana Li does. The Hana Li is more like a Rome mod camber than it is like a DOA from Capita. So I wanted something, when I got mine, I wanted to go back to traditional camber because I was coming back from a knee injury, and I wanted something that was going to push me. And I wanted something that if I still wanted to be lazy where I needed to be, I could be. Plus the side cut was better. It just ripped harder turns in my opinion. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. This question's for Dick Measurer. You've mentioned being a big fan of the Rome Mod Rocker. Is the 2018 on the one that you tested, and is it any different than the previous years? I've seen info claiming it's a couple points stiffer. So they moved factories with that board, and that's really where the difference comes from in it. It's still by and large the same board. It's still the same shape. It's just when you move factories, you sometimes get a little bit tweak of the materials involved with the board, and that can change the flex ever so slightly. By and large, It's still the same board as the old ones, just a different factory. Um, there's a bunch. They had a big factory change this year with a few of their models. Some stuff's actually being made in North America, up in Canada. So what you can see is when you look at them, is you can kind of just tell the difference based on how they are. When you hold them side by side, you'll see that there's a different finish to them in the top sheet, and you can see ever so slightly the fiberglass looks a little bit different just because it doesn't have that clear coat on it. But I love the Mod Rocker. Still one of my favorite boards in the Rome lineup. I think it's the most quintessential board in there that anyone can pretty much ride anywhere. If you're a solid intermediate and you're progressing from there on, anyone can ride. If you're just starting out, it'll eat you alive. Let's see. Got some other questions here. Ooh. Oh, Angry Agar's in here. Who's put out your favorite part this year, male and female? When you dropping your part, buddy? Huh? Andrew? Talking to you. Want to see you drop your video part? I want lots of Jackson Hole powder in it. Otherwise, I'm still waiting for Marcus's coming out of retirement number 5 video part, where he's going to be sponsored by Ben Gay, some kind of joint supplement, and I'm going to bet that he'll probably also pick up a steroid sponsor. That's really what I'm waiting for. Otherwise, I'm still waiting to check out some parts. I know Robin Van Gin's part is solid in the T. Rice movie, and that would probably be the only thing I would care to watch in that. And then for dudes, still waiting on a few other things to drop. So that's kind of where I'm at with video parts this year. I'm a little bit behind on keeping up on some stuff too, because when you can't look at a computer monitor for fucking 3 weeks, it really sucks. Ooh. Maybe, yes. I like that idea, Andrew. He said, fund him and he'll go chuck triples again. Maybe I'll add that as a perk to our Patreon. Like, we get X number of dollars in funding. I'll split it with Andrew, and that'll pay his medical bills for when he becomes paralyzed. You need to send me that clip of you chucking a triple. I don't know what I'd use it for, but I want it. Let's see. Ooh, let's see. Oh, yeah, Johnny's asking where Kevin is. It's Black Friday. He works retail. He's fighting off a goddamn demonic horde of people that are probably screaming at him for union bindings. So, always got that. Let's see. Someone else had a question for me. Ooh. Yes, someone asked me what hard boot setup they should use. I don't know. I don't fucking ski. This is not Angry Skier. This is Angry Snowboarder. If you're riding hard boots, you suck. There's a whole other community for you, and I will not answer your questions about needing hard boots in your setup. So, fuck you for asking me about hard boots, and may you get intestinal cancer. Hard boots suck. If you're going to hard boot, you should ski, and if you're going to ski, you shouldn't be on this. Well, that's true, Chad. And yes, Chad Otterstrom is hardcore. We'll leave that. He's the only one that's allowed to hard boot. Johnny Starlin asks, how important is it to match up boot binding / board stiffness and response? Example, is it pointless to match up a mid-stiff boot with a stiff binding? A lot of it is personal preference. So to give you a frame of reference, I ride the K2 Thraxis boot. That is their stiffest boot that they make other than their backcountry boot. I ride a bastardized pair of K2 Indies that I gut parts from the formula from and mix it together, which is their second softest binding. And then most of my boards are middle of the road all mountain flex. A lot of it is personal preference. Now, if I was just going to do, like, let's say hard carving charging and shit like that, I would try to match the board's flex to the boot flex.
The bindings, by and large, you just need them to hold you down. You can have more play in it. I mean, some do have a little more lateral play than I would like, and so I would probably look for something that's a little more rigid laterally. But overall, a lot of it is just personal preference and knowing your equipment and knowing what you need. So, like with me having bad ankles, I need a really stiff boot that locks me down. But for bindings, the binding just needs to hold me in, and then I'm good. And then for the board, I just want a middle of the road flex, something that I can ride just about anywhere, because Colorado conditions are some of the weirdest but most mellow at the same time. Like we have light pow, it's usually a bluebird day, and if the sun comes out, it bakes everything and just makes it a little bit softer. So that's where I go with it, is personal preference. Keep it up. Now, another topic I wanted to talk to you guys about: hand holding. I understand that there is a lot of shit on the market out there and people get overwhelmed with it. But if you email me 45 times asking me about 5 different boards because you're afraid to pull the fucking trigger, you're a hand holder and you're wasting my fucking time. So for everyone out there that's going to watch this, don't be a fucking hand holder. Not saying it's any of you people watching this right now. Not any of you people in the live chat. There are hand holders out there, and it's one of the most frustrating things. It's a shit or get off the pot situation. When you have all the information put in front of you and you have a smartphone that you can pull it up on the fly and you can compare and contrast everything across the board, you do not need someone to walk you through every fucking decision. And Andrew Agar is right. The only hand holding allowed is in the circle of death, which is still something that everyone should have to participate in snowboarding. So, yes, no hand holding. That's a very, very important PSA, especially since we live in the information age, and I'm not the only website out there. You should be checking out Board Archive. TJ kills it. And Johnny Starling's asking again, so in general, for more response, boot stiffness, is it more important than binding stiffness? In my opinion, yes, because you drive your board from a lot of ankle flexion. That's where you're really moving everything. That's where every movement on the snowboard originates from. Your knees are your shocks, and your ankles are basically your clutch, and that's how you engage the board. So you want to make sure that you're taken care of. There is personal preference to it, but I know if I ride an old boot of mine or just a softer boot, it's too sloppy for me and it doesn't engage the way I want. So and Snowbank's asking, Ari, in regards to bindings, just holding you down, don't you want some play between the boot and binding? The step-ons don't allow that, and wouldn't that be undesirable? I'm not sure what you mean by play. This can be taken so many different ways, like it's a sloppy fit in the boot to the binding interface, or you just mean that you actually want the binding to flex with the boot, like laterally and aft and forward. So, Mike Sears, stop sending me text messages. God damn it, Mike. Fucking throw off this whole chat by you sending me text messages. But anyways, yeah, to go back to the whole thing with binding play, it's something that you really don't want in there too much, in my opinion. And the Burton step-ons are like a unique beast. I'm actually supposed to pick up a pair, I believe, this week for myself and another pair for Kevin, and we're going to go do a whole video now that Burton doesn't want to hold our hands and make sure we say only positive, nice things about it. I know there's a couple videos online of people that can't engage them, so I really want to see if I can break these things. But yeah. Why do people always want to join me in the live chat? Alright. And shout out to my boy Mike Sears. He's in Pennsylvania, being a mullet fucker. And he's holding it down at Big Boulder Terrain Park, which is the title sponsor of this live stream. So for everyone in the Mid-Atlantic, remember to ride Big Boulder or Jack Frost in Pennsylvania. All right. And Richard Mazer, hold my hand on this one. I found a deal on a 153 Mercury, not too small for 153 pound. 153-pound dude with a size 9 foot? No, it's not too small for you. It just depends on where you ride. If you're in the Northwest and dealing with heavier, wetter snow, you would obviously want the 155 or the 157. If you're on the East Coast, you're fine. If you're in Colorado, you're fine with it for the most part, except on super deep days. So that would be like those 12-inch plus days. Same thing goes for Utah. It's going to really come down to where you're riding on that board. But that actually is a solid board, especially if you're going with more of a freestyle focus to it. Oh, now everyone wants to hold hands? Fucking awkward. You guys are all awkward. Ooh. One cup move. Best resort powder board. Looking for something good in trees that doesn't suck on groomed runs. There are so many ways that you can answer this question. It's like, do you want to go with a volume shifted board? Do you want to stay with just like a traditional shaped powder board, something more like this arbor that's back here behind me, something like that? You know, you've got these options for that. So when it comes to tree riding, I usually tell people that the downsized boards are super solid. They're fun. Stuff like the K2 87, the Simple Pleasures. You know, the Ride Warpig is super versatile in that regard. The Spring Break Slush Slasher, the Weston Backwoods, the Yes 420, not the 420 Powder Hull because I don't like that thing. Powder Hull sucks. And then there's, let's see what else is out there because I know there's a bunch more volume shifted ones. I know the new 6-stick, or it's called like the Side Hill or something from Salomon. They kind of renamed it. Would be another one. If you're going with more traditional shapes, like powder boards, like regular length ones, stuff that's good in there. You want something that's got a lot of torsional play to it so you can really center flex it and drive it through the arc of the turn and do what you need to do with it. There's a lot of boards out there from a lot of companies that do that. I think the Dinosaurs Will Die Pow Reaper is one. There's also the, God, I'm brain farting right here. What am I thinking of that would be good? Capita Navigator would be another one that you could do in that regards for powder. Let's see. Wrote a lot of powder boards this year. The Endeavor Archetype, that's probably hands down the best powder board I rode for 2017-18. So that would be another great board with that swallowtail that's on there. Fuck, man, I'm really brain farting right now. This is what happens when you have one too many concussions. You can't always remember everything. I do not agree with the Salomon Super 8 is one of the best. It's an okay powder board, so we'll go with that. I haven't been on the Deep Thinker either. That's one that I'm going to try to grab, but I did get on the Burton Panhandler and the Working Stiff, so you could throw those two on the lift as long as you don't look at a flight attendant because that board fucking sucks dick. It's like an old dad board. It's like does what you need it to do, and at the end of the day, you're like, it's a snowboard. It gets me down the hill, and that's it. So, yeah, those are kind of it. Let's see. Trying to think. What other good resort powder? Well, I mean, there's a lot of them out there. There's a fuck ton of them. Hopefully, the next week I'll drop all the snowboard reviews. So it's 247 board reviews, and in that, you'll see it. I'm gonna throw a few more out there. The Rome Blur is another great one just to consider. Check that out, and also look at the Arbor Cosa Nostra. Remember to wear helmets because concussions suck, and I've had 23 of them. I'm gonna have CTE and I'm gonna die. So yeah. All right. I know there's another question lurking around here. Let's see what we got floating around. Let's see. I feel like I'm missing something here. Does anyone else have any other question while I look for this one that went MIA on me? Anyone? Oh, actually I forgot to add to that list. The Jones Mind Expander, hands down, that's actually a really solid resort powder board. So fuck all the other ones, just buy that one. That's it. Mind Expander. So we'll go with that one. And then let's see. what else we got going on? Also, for anyone that isn't on Patreon, you should check out our Patreon. I'll put a link down below. There's 2 spots available for the Ultra package, which will get you into a raffle out of 1 out of 10 people to win a snowboard. It's not the one that's gift wrapped behind me. We're giving that one away in the board reviews. I'm going to hide 10 clues to win that one, but I'm actually going to give away another snowboard for the Patreon subscriber, or Patreon patrons, I guess is what they are. And then, let's see, there's also, I expanded the sticker club on there, so if you want Angry Snowboarder stickers or other stickers in your mailbox once a month, you should check that out as well. Ooh. Stephen Wagner asks, does a board's weight play a big factor in how it rides? For example, the Mercury is really light compared to some of the other boards in its class. Yes and no. It comes down to if the factory has the ability to mill their cores, and that's where a lot of board weight, well, I shouldn't say a lot of it. So that's where some of the board weight comes from. The other comes from how much epoxy they use. So if they use pre-preg fiberglass versus non-pre-preg fiberglass, which basically what it means is does the fiberglass come impregnated with epoxy, which helps it set up, versus if it doesn't. So most American-made snowboards, or North American-made, have about a gallon of epoxy in them. That's why boards like Never Summer, Mervin, certain Signals, you'll see that they're heavier than their contemporaries, and that's because they've got about a gallon of fucking epoxy in them, and epoxy just adds a ton of weight. The other thing comes down to where they got their fiberglass and how new it is. Newer fiberglass weighs less than older fiberglass, and you'll notice with some factories that they just have rolls of old fiberglass. So when they use that stuff, it weighs more. And that's really where board weight comes into play on these things. So my whole theory is you want the best of the best when you're paying $480, $500 for a snowboard. You want something that's using the newest materials. And if they're not, that's where you get them being heavier. So, and that's also why boards break down faster. If they have more epoxy in them, which this tends to be true of most North American made brands, their stuff tends to go dead faster. They decamber, they lose their pop, they lose their snap. So that's the big thing to understand with boards, that the weight is a really derivative of how they're built. And when they're built in North America versus Austria or China or Dubai, they have more fiberglass in them. Or even if they're using older epoxy or an older epoxy formula, it just has more weight, so that adds more weight to them. Now, I'm not saying that American made is bad, I'm just saying that they will ride heavier, and that also makes them more damp at the same time, so they're not as lively. Okay. Ooh, got another one from Marco. Can you talk about new interesting board construction versus old school construction? I think I kind of just touched on that answering the board weight question, but basically, if you've got, I feel like across the board, most North American factories are very dated. They're about 10 to 15 years behind, and there's even ones that are older. Like there's this company called Prospect that just moved to California. They're from like Wisconsin or something. Their shit looks like it fell out of 1993. And you can just see, based in the finish quality, like if it doesn't have a clear coat on it, it's older. If it doesn't have the UV protective coat, it's older. If they're using P-Tech sidewalls that they don't have the ability to mill down, the boards look thicker. You can literally pull a board off the wall and just fucking see the difference right there in something that's made in Dubai, China, Austria, North America. Now, some of the new Rome stuff is coming out of Canada, Eastern Canada, and when you look at that stuff, you're like, this actually looks really good, and it looks almost like the old GST factory type boards or the old Elan boards, but then you start comparing them to boards from Mothership, and you look at it, and there's slight differences. I might make a video on this later on in the year when I've got more boards from multiple factories where I can just do a comparison and get up close and really do that. So look for that video. Let's see. Oh, also for the Patreon people, I'm going to drop the first chapter of this book I've been writing on there next week. So you guys got something cool to look for. For any of you that aren't on Patreon and want to see what goes on in my fucked up head and how to be a successful snowboard bum, you need to subscribe to our Patreon account to check that out. All right. One Cup asks again, I've got fairly large feet, US 11.5. Is toe drag an overrated concern? Yes and no. So what's really funny right now is when you look at boards, and just a standard width board is what a mid-wide used to be. Like, legitimately, board wastes used to be about a 24.5, 24.7, and stuff is now sitting around the 25 to 0.3 to the 25.7, and, you know, in that mid-wide range. And so by taking that into consideration, you look at it, most boards, 11.5 isn't as big as it used to be, especially with companies doing footprint reductions in their boots. So with all that going on, it's kind of overrated. The way I look at it is you go and you look at the specs of the board, and you look at the nose and tail width and then the waist width, and you subtract the waist width from the nose and tail width, divide that by 2 from that number, then take that number and add it back to the waist width. I know it's a little janky of a formula, but basically companies should be putting down the width at the middle of the insert pack. That would make way more sense, because so much stuff isn't classified as a mid-wide, and it actually is. And the other thing is, wides and mid-wides have gotten so much better with how they're built that they're not like these just fucking doors that you can't lay over on edge anymore. So with all that being said, it's kind of overrated if you're under a size 12. It really is. Like, people try to tell me I need a mid-wide with a size 10 boot. I don't. I rode a lot of shit that was like 147 last year, and they're like, oh, you shouldn't have been able to ride that. I didn't have any toe overhang at all, and I was able to rail Euro carves. So, slightly overrated. Ooh. Yes, I wish I could ride an offshore snowboard shape. I'm going to try to work on getting one of those boards from those guys. That's a company I'm super stoked on, but super small. Johnny Starling brings up the Rome Founders podcast from the Not Snowboarding podcast that I just posted on the website, about how they talked in the past their boards were designed around a size 8 foot for their pros. That's true, and you look at that, and that was the early 2000s when they came out, and people were designing, a lot of companies were designing shit for their pros. It was very team driven. It was very just, that's way things were back then. Now it's very different. I'd say most stuff is built around a 9.5 or a 10 boot. That's just a common size. I mean, size 10 is legitimately the most common size snowboard boot out there. So, yeah. So, that's basically it. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at like what they market towards you and what the actual truth is and how these things work. So you don't really necessarily have to worry too much about how wide your board is anymore. I can't even remember the last time I actually had to worry about a board being too narrow for me. That's a tough one. I've ridden some narrow ass sticks these days too, so yeah. Alright. Let's see what else we got going on. And a lot of people lately have been bringing up the fact that Signal and Endeavor are using the ICS channel system from Burton on their boards and freaking out about how now they have to get Burton bindings for it. I just like to address that no you don't. I ride K2 bindings on Endeavors and Signals and Burtons. Just about every company has a disc that will work on it. Don't freak out. Do I think it's a good idea or a bad idea that other companies are using the channel? I could go either way. I really don't give a fuck about it as a mounting system. So don't worry about ICS. Anyone got any last questions before I sign off? Anyone? All right. You think Signal would do all 3 boards ICS? Actually, I think they got like 7 boards in their lineup right now, so I think almost all of them are ICS. I think they've got 2 that are just standard insert pack. I think it's the Disruptor 2 and the women's version of that now. Because the Yup has ICS. Oh, the John Jackson doesn't, but that's probably because John doesn't want that. Their split board, I think, even has ICS on it too. So, with that said, thanks for checking out the live stream today, guys. Happy Black Friday. Remember, Cyber Monday's coming up. If you're buying any of your gear online, please buy it through our affiliates. That way we make a little bit of money so we can keep doing cool shit like this. And, let's see. I'm going to spill the beans. In May, we're dropping a pilot for a new show that is going to be an hour long. We will be putting out a survey for it to get your guys' feedback on what you're looking for, but we will be filming a lot of content over the next 6 months for this pilot. And then if it goes the way we want, we will have 9 more episodes in September for you. So keep an eye out for that pilot in May, and keep an eye out for that survey that we're going to do, because there will be a chance to win a prize package for us for completing it. So thanks for all you guys tuning in, and I'm going to go back to filming product reviews because, well, I got the green screen set up and the lights are on, and my concussion is over with, and I got eye surgery, so I can fucking see what I'm doing now. Have a good one, guys.